morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to have a look at Brilliant Stars. Because you see, we're about 6 weeks out-ish from the release of Astral Radiance at this point. That's where we are in terms of the schedule of the Pokémon TCG. So this should be around about the stage where Brilliant Stars, the most recent set, has started to stabilise, and where things are starting to get cheap. And the way it generally tends to work is that things start off pretty expensive, get cheaper, stay cheap for a while, goes out of print, starts climbing up. I told you the other day how Evolving Skies is, the time for getting Evolving Skies cheap has gone. Evolving Skies booster boxes in the US right now, I showed you the other day, you're talking around about $170-ish. Well, the RRP is $143.64. And this is a set that's now been out for like 6 months. This set's going, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not getting any cheaper. But what about Brilliant Stars? What about the boxes? What about the singles? Well, I showed you the price of a booster box the other day, and I showed you that over in the US, the price for a booster box is about $130, which is, $15 below retail roughly. And over in the UK, we're talking about 120 quid, which is about 25 quid below retail. Again, talking pretty roughly, doing a fair amount of rounding. So, in terms of booster boxes, we are about where we would expect. We don't quite have to pay retail, which is nice. But by the same token, we're not getting a huge discount. We can pick these up for just a little bit below retail, which at this stage is about right. We may well see them dropping a bit more when it's no longer the most recent set, when Astral Radiance comes out, and then they'll probably be cheap for a little while, and then when it goes out of print, it'll start creeping up and, quite frankly, never come back down. So what about Elite Trainer boxes? Well, we would expect about the same thing, and we find about the same thing. These are $40 new, and we go onto eBay in the US and we pay $40. That's about right, ladies and gentlemen. That's about right. We are paying basically what we expect to pay. Over in the UK, the RRP is £42.50, and we can pick these up pretty casually for 40 quid. Although there is actually one on there, 36 quid, with free postage, which seems kind of cheap, honestly. So we can pick these up for just a little bit below retail again. So, in terms of sealed products, and honestly, right, we can look at blisters and all of that, but these are the two main sealed products, your booster boxes, your Elite Trainer boxes, that's what we're focusing on. This makes perfect sense. And honestly, it should, because, we have a Pokemon Center in the UK right now, and that Pokemon Center in the UK will actually just sell you Brilliant Stars. And it will sell you Brilliant Stars at retail. And how wonderful is that? I can buy an Elite Trainer box, I can actually buy the Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box, or I can buy a booster box, or I can basically buy whatever I like, except weirdly regular Elite Trainer boxes. Regular Elite Trainer boxes aren't there, but are readily available over on eBay, so I think we're going to be okay. So sealed product, essentially what we see is widely available for just a little bit below retail, which is about what we would expect. So what's gone and happened to the prices of singles? And the answer is, really depends what singles we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, because it's not actually quite that clear. Some of these have gone and gotten a little bit cheaper, and that's rather lovely, but some of these are really starting to stabilise. The good news is, we did talk about these, we took some screenshots at various intervals, so we can see what's going on. And we might as well start off with the alternate art Charizard. Now, I showed you this Charizard a couple of times, and I showed you the other day we did a proper comprehensive breakdown of exactly how much it should cost. We did that video, we're not doing that video again. What we're doing here is we're having a look at what's happened to the price of the alternate art Charizard over time, so that we can see exactly what's happened. So, when we started off, this was around about when the pre-releases happened on March the 14th, the prices were done. We were talking about a $300-ish card. That was clearly way too high, and I told you at the time it was way too high, and when we have the pre-releases for Astral Radiance, I'm going to show you the same thing, that you should not be buying Astral Radiance singles, but we can get to that in about a month's time. That'll be fine. If we skip forward just 2 weeks to March the 1st, we see that it had dropped to about $180, $190 card. So it dropped from $300 to $190, and then just there a few days ago, we see that it's actually crept back up again, and it's now around about a $215 card, just looking at eBay. So we actually saw that the price came down and then went back up again. We often see these prices crashing. That is not what happened here, ladies and gentlemen. What we actually found was, although it came down initially, and to be fair, it came down pretty dramatically, it then started creeping up a little bit. Started creeping up, honestly, pretty gosh darn quickly. It's going to be interesting to see what happens from here on in, but I think if you want to buy one of those cards, I wouldn't rely on it starting to drop. We've had the drop, and maybe it goes back down again. That is absolutely possible. I'm not here to tell you what to buy and when to buy. I'm making no guarantees about value. I'm just telling you that it dropped pretty dramatically, but has now started creeping up again. If we have a look at Charizard V-Star, again we saw that during pre-releases the price was dumb. People were paying nearer to $350 for this. And I will still never understand why people are paying more for the Rainbow Rare Charizard than for the alternate art Charizard, because the alternate art is just a better card. But that was a little bit dumb. If you head forward just a couple of weeks, we see once again that actually we get a pretty dramatic price crash, and now it's somewhere in the region of about a $210 card. You literally can wait 2 weeks and knock a third off the value of that card. I've said it many times, I'm going to say it more. Do not buy singles between the pre-release and the full release of the set, unless you've got a specific reason, which is absolutely fine, or you just don't mind paying over the odds because you want it now, again, which is absolutely fine. If we head forward to April, we got about $180, $200 card. So it's honestly about the same. You know, it's fluctuating quite a bit. And we do see this, obviously, the higher value cards do tend to fluctuate a bit more than the lower value cards. A $30 card ain't going to fluctuate that much. But a $200 card, you're going to see like $160 to $220, $230. It's going to flick around. So we saw that both of those Charizard, they crashed pretty quickly, and then the Charizard V-Star seems to have stabilized, but the alternate art seems to be creeping up, which honestly seems right to me. That alternate art is absolutely stunning. The other kind of big one was the Arceus V-Star, the gold version, the only gold one that actually came around in the set, the only gold V-Star we got in Brilliant Stars. And if we have a look around about the pre-release, we find that this is selling for about $125. Flick forward 2 weeks into March, and we find that $125 has literally halved, and now we're only paying $60, which is clearly ridiculous. Like, literally halved in value in the space of, and I'm not exaggerating, 2 weeks. 2 weeks! And it halved in value. So once again, and I've said it a million times, I'm going to say it a million more, don't pay over the odds. And actually, what's been happening with that one is it's crashed even further. Now, we got a couple of recent solds here, one for $42, one for $30. There is another one just out of shop, which was again $30. This actually seems to have halved again. So we halved from 120 down to 60. We seem to have halved down to 30. And this one's interesting to me because right now, Arceus V-Star, it's the best card in the game. Now, I'm not saying it's the only card, and I'm not saying it's the best by a mile, but if you look at recent tournament results, it really is Arceus. There are other good cards out there, I ain't saying there aren't, but I am saying that there isn't really anything which is quite at the same level as Arceus here. And so that would, you would imagine, really push the value up, but actually, no. Seems like people are content to play with the regular version or the Rainbow Rare. The gold version is just not attracting that much extra value. For what it's worth, we are seeing that the Rainbow Rare is also selling for kind of $30 to $45. So we see that the Rainbow Rare and the Gold have roughly the same value here, despite the fact that the Gold, I'm fairly sure, has a lower pull rate, and is the fancy Gold version. People are apparently just as happy with the Rainbow Rare version as they are with the Gold version. So, yeah, that's not an expensive card. Not compared to what it could be. But for me, the thing that makes me really happy is that, generally speaking, most of these cards are just not attracting a huge amount of value. Like, for me, personally, that Sylveon VMAX, the alternate art, the character rare, is just one of the most beautiful cards we've seen, at least recently. It's an amazing card. I adore it. It's selling for like $20. This is the alternate, it's Sylveon. He's a very popular Pokemon. And it's a character super rare. And it's not that easy to pull. And it's selling for $20. Which is ludicrous. There's an Umbreon VMAX here as well. Because, need to look at that. Can't just look at Sylveon. That seems a little bit one-sided. We can have a look at the Umbreon as well. And sure, Umbreon's a bit more popular. It's like a $35 card. And again, compared to the alternate art Umbreon VMAX that came around in Evolving Skies, which is more than a $300 card, this just seems absolutely hyper cheap. Sure, the two Charizard are keeping their value quite nicely, but as soon as you get away from those two Charizard, it is just brilliant. Those gold Urshifu, they're selling for like $4. Which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And on the one hand, I pulled one of these and I'm like, no, there's like no value in it anymore. And on the other hand, I'm like, you know what? That's actually kind of beautiful. I can now go and buy the other one. And I don't say this as a negative. Essentially, Brilliant Stars, with the exception of the Charizard, the prices have crashed quite nicely. The other cards in the set are really not attracting very much value at all, and I love it. When your Umbreon VMAX can't hit above $35, things are going pretty nice in terms of how easy it is to get hold of these cards and how nice the value is looking. But then we've also got these sealed products, and they're not super cheap yet. I showed you the other day, there are some sets, really up to and including Fusion Strike. There's Battlestars, Chilling Reign, and Fusion Strike, but I use Fusion Strike as an example. You can pick up boxes of Fusion Strike for like $90, which is ridiculously cheap. We're not there with sealed products on terms of Brilliant Stars yet, but the singles are very, very cheap. And the sealed products are nice and in stock and being sold at a nice little discount below retail. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, things are looking very nice indeed. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear from you guys. Which singles from Brilliant Stars have you picked up? Did you get yourself a bargain? Which ones are you looking to pick up in the future? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.